Welcome, welcome. Most farm succession plans don't fail because of paperwork. They fail because nobody wants to have the conversation until something forces it. Have you ever heard it before? Uh, a health scare, a conflict, a financial crunch. And when land is involved, your home, your yard site, maybe multiple parcels, this becomes more than a financial decision. It becomes a family decision. And if those conversations don't happen early, they usually happen under pressure. Today, we're breaking down the 5 conversations every farm family needs to have before the land gets sold. So you protect the farm, you protect the successions, you protect the legacy, and most of all, you protect what matters the most in life, the relationships. Welcome, welcome back to the show. I am Rico. I'm with Farmers in Finance, and today you're tuned in episode 25. Wow, we come a long way for all these episodes. Um, so my name is Ricardo Manazza, and AKA Rico, and I'm with Farmers in Finance. Today's show, we're going to talk about what people don't talk about. This is funny because, like, what we don't talk about, what we just put under the rag. What I'm going to try to explain is why these conversations are important. Because usually these conversations, as being a financial not advisor, I can't call myself a financial advisor, but a financial associate and a real estate agent out there when I do these shows or set them up. Um, I tend to have odd conversations because when it comes to real estate, when it comes to finance, these are all emotional. And what happens is when emotions get involved, people get stuck in their identities. What I mean by getting stuck in their identities is like they're so committed to who they are that whenever something new comes along, they just can't process it. And obviously, we're not talk about how to leave legacy. We're not talking about how to deal with money and in life, so to speak. I mean, the schooling system for myself and my kids, it's failing. I don't know about you, but the curriculum is getting more and more degraded by the level of people that are setting up these programs. But we all know who controls those programs. Anyways, that's not the topic for today's show. If you didn't tune in last week, we talked about episode 24. We talked about how farmers can leverage government programs. And some of the programs that I talked about was agri stability, which gives you a little bit of insurance towards your crops, towards your life in general on the farm. And then we talked about agri invest, which is like an incentive from the government that gives you a little bit of a shock absorber, so to speak, when the times get tough, possibly now, um, where the government will contribute as match you your contribution. I mean, it's not much, but everything helps, especially when you're a farmer and you don't have too many savings planned for for the future. So, okay, so that was last week. Uh, Today, yeah, we're gonna talk about that, and that will bring us to the quote of the day. So I'm gonna add my slides here. For whoever is watching over now live or on in the future, please this is shared on Facebook and LinkedIn and Facebook. So leave a comment. Just get into the conversation. Don't be shy. I'm just doing it here live every day. So I also wanted to apologize for that. Sometimes, I have technical issues. Sometimes I have to get it together. And then sometimes the recordings are not even filtered. So I just upload them as they are. And, they might get slow, they might get fast, and something is missed. So when you go back to it and you have a question about something, a program, or something that I talked about, just give me a dingling. On the top, oh, no, I'm not displaying on the top how to get in touch with me. But on the bottom now, you can get in touch with me at rico at farmersinfinance.com, or my personal website and email address is ricardo at ricardomanazza.com for all of those that are listening on the radio or the podcast. Yeah, reach out. And if you have questions, like I want to make another disclaimer here that I am not a financial advisor. I am just, and I'm not here to give you legal opinions, tax opinions, or any financial advice, because every financial advice is individual. So I need to know more your situation. So don't take this as financial advice. Just take this as like, oh, I heard on the show that, and then just go research it. We got great tools, so to speak. I'm a big fan of AI, and in every show, I will try to sort of implement it into how we make progress and how we answer these questions as well. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but having AI in the backside in my back pocket, it just feels like, oh, let me ask the expert. It's kind of like back in the days when we were all Googling. Uh, I didn't have to know what things were or how they were made or anything like that. I just Googled them, and then all of a sudden, boom, I got my answer. But now it even goes deeper. It has like the accumulation of many, many minds. It's kind of like sitting down at a mastermind, and it can create anything you want. And it's advancing so fast that some people get overwhelmed and scared. And if you haven't adopted it, I don't know, um, you might get left behind, or maybe one day you're going to wake up and your neighbor's got a robot walking its dog or something like that. Um, that's how fast it's evolving. But in a sense, I don't think we should be scared of it, um, because it's just a tool. It's like nobody was scared of Google, or maybe some people were scared of Google. They were all scared of like how it would take their jobs or anything like that. Um, but anyways, where are we? Oh, quote of the day. Yes, my favorite. Um, Before we start that in the background, my quote of the day is, because this is not just about the land, and it's not about tax planning as well. It's about responsibility. So the quote of the day ties in very well. So a society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. I might have used this quote before, but I'm just gonna go back to it because this pertains sort of to the show today, and it's like I've been hearing it quite a bit lately because AI is evolving so fast, and there is like such an advancement that we are coming to the point that we have great responsibilities to be responsible and accountable as well, right? Like a lot of governments are not really accountable, and it's showing. There's wars. Wars happen when the people are not held accountable, and when people that seek power and they're greedy, They are not doing what the other people are doing. And you ask me or anybody else on the streets, anybody else that is working hard for their family or farmers, right? Like we are here uh, to make a living and to live with everybody else and to have great relationships with one another. And yeah, sure, have some disagreement. Life is not perfect, but war, that is crazy. We keep repeating history and we're not changing anything. And when these people take over and they think they can just bomb buildings and people and infrastructure just because whatever they said something, or I don't know what the reasons are. Well, we know what the reasons are, and they're always pointing to money and greed and power. And I guess there is people out there, and sure, it's not affecting us because we're lucky enough to be in a country like Canada. But all those people out there, they're suffering, right? They're seeing the world in a different picture, and they have a different perspective. So um, when when an old men plant trees and they have their responsibility to offer a better future, because that's what a tree does, offers a better that's what's symbolizing in this quote for me. It's creating this stewardship and this responsibility, and I see it why people have a hard time uh talking about this, and why does it get avoided, right? So let's get started and start talking about why. Okay, well, I have here on my notes that I should play the disclaimer again. So, quick disclaimer before we dive in. This is just educational. We're not giving legal, tax, or financial advice. What we're doing is giving you a framework and better questions. So when you sit down with your accountant, your lawyer, or your advisor, you're actually prepared. Okay, so why these questions get avoided? Um, a lot of people. Let me just do this. Okay. Let's see what this like. This is just business. No, this is we're talking about. Okay. Let me just share my screen. Oh, uh, this one. Wait, share my screen. Okay. I hope you can see that. Okay, I'm sharing the proper one. Um. Okay. So is that one? Yeah. Farm successions. Okay. Here I was doing my. Okay. Let's see if it works. Why the 5 questions that I have for today, why do they get avoided? Why people avoid these questions? And give me a reason. You're a psychologist and you have talked to many people along these subject lines. And what is causing people to not uh, talk about this, which are really important and responsible? And then can you offer like 4 ways to start these conversations? Thank you. Okay, so I'm just transcribing, and here we go with the answer. Oh, it's a powerful layer to add, Rico. Okay, why these conversations get avoided? You can insert this right before you go into the 5 conversations. Yes, okay. Let's step. Let's take a step back for a second, because on paper this is obvious. This is responsible. This is necessary. Yeah, we all know that these conversations need to take place. But in real life, it doesn't happen. Identity is tied to the farm. So what happens? A lot of families, especially the parent, this isn't just land. This is their life work, right? They have put so much time, so much commitment, so much money. They've put their purpose. So when you start talking about secession, what they hear is, "Who are you? Who are you when you are no longer needed?" and that's a very hard to conversations to have. Um, this sort of tries to mention. Well, we haven't talked about the questions, but I just wanted to introduce why these are things that are avoided, and most of the time is like it ties into the identity part. Like people put an identity to it, and when it comes to it, it's kind of hard to talk to about something that you did, even if it was right or wrong. It's hard to talk about it because you're committed. And then, oh, I want to bring it back to about 100 years ago. 95% of the people were farmers, and then you fast forward to now, 5% of the people are farmers. So even with that, land has gotten bigger. Land, it's the same type of land that is getting farmed, but the possessions and people that own land are far and few. So this is for the small farmer as well. You know, like that's what my goal is. I was a small farmer, and it's freaking tough. Okay, it's one of the toughest jobs that there is, but it's one of the most important jobs. I mean, lately, last year, I think there was the stickers that were going around about how important farmers are, and without farmers, no food, no farmers, no food. All right, but it goes deeper into that because it's like um, it's no farmers, but even no small farmers, no proper food. It's kind of like having the small stores that are getting wiped out by the big giants like Walmart. Um, the small stores are more individual. They're more social aspects to it too, right? Like you walk into a small store and the guy tailors to you, right? But when you go to a big store, it, they're way too busy stacking the shelves and being productive and being efficient, right? And so now we're trying to shift over, right? So the big one is the identity is tied to the farm, right? Like so, it's like whenever the old timer starts uh, engaging in us, obviously he's thinking about it, right? He's thinking about, oh, okay, I'm gonna lead the farm to whoever, right? And he's testing his heirs, right? Like, well, he's putting in the work and he's not putting in the work, and then it goes to chatting about who's got the responsibilities, and then it's hard to visualize, especially farmers. They're such tough cookies that it's hard for them to visualize when they're gone. They're so involved in their work. They have to feed the animal, crop, plant, and their mind's so occupied that sometimes they don't even think about this question: who are you when you're no longer needed? Right? How what are you gonna do? Like, and this ties back to everyone, right? Like when you retire, there's something that happens in the psychology of men that kind of like detaches them from their identity and who they are, right? And so that's why some people are even scared of retirement. You know, they don't want to retire. Hey, I want to keep going, but it's by choice. You have to know what's going on, and you have to understand who you are, right? Deep down inside, and if that's an identity that you've created or if that's really truly you. I don't know about you, but when you go to a job and you complain about the job, and then when you are retiring, you're like missing your job, there is something there that you haven't worked with, right? Number two is fear of conflict. A lot of families operate on unspoken agreements. Let's not rock the boat. Let's keep the peace. How many times have you heard that before? Especially as Canadians. I consider myself Canadians. I was born in Italy, but I can see the difference. You know, Italians are just like smack. You know, get out of it, right? Like, gotta do it. You know, but Canadians are just like unconfrontational. That's probably why we should be a country like Switzerland. You know, we're neutral. We're the peacekeepers. I was talking to a guy in the military and one of my clients, and yeah, like Canadians in every war, they offered uh, peacekeeping strategies, right? So silence feels like peace until it doesn't. So, and that's the big shocker. That's one of the reasons. I mean, I said it before in many previous shows, but uh, one of the reasons why I got into financial services, so to speak, it's because I was shocked about the level of conversations that weren't spoken before prior, right? And then when obviously we're talking about death, when death happens, people just don't know what to do. It's just like they weren't expecting it or they weren't planning for it or they've been thinking about it and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, it's here. And now it's like a big downhill and get depressed because like you're missing a person or and then you make the wrong decisions, right? Like decisions are and this could have all be avoided because uh, uh, this could be avoided because like people uh, need to have the conversations as we're going to speak about today. um, a few points that was pointed out: someone will feel treated unfairly, right? Like it's who's going to go to who. All the resentments will come up. Oof, the past always surfaces, and then people are afraid that their relationships that they have right now might change. That's a big one. I was reading the book The Good Life, and great book. It's a study of 80-year study. So I went through one, two, three generations, and it studied like what makes people happy, what makes people have a good life, and it was across I don't know how many studies they've done, but every year they would have a consultation and they would just review how the year went. But it told you right away, and that's what I liked about the book, is that it told you right away what the secret was. It wasn't leaving you in suspense that you had to finish the book, and then it just said, "You want to find out how we came to that conclusion?" And it said um, that the secret to a good life that they found in the study, not per se that it could attach to you or who you are, is that relationships. Relationships. That's amazing. It's like, wow. The better relationships you have in your life, the happier you are. Hmm, that's interesting. It's not about money. It's not about purpose. It's about relationships. So I hope you picked that book up. I can share it on my website. I have a place called My Books. I'll put it on there at the end of the show, and then you can just grab yourself a copy, or I'll summarize it a little bit for you of what I picked out of it, and I'll make it into a blog. But yeah, it's a great book. Anyways, again, another tangent. Sorry, I do that a lot. Um, Three, guilt and fairness pressure. Parents especially carry this. Okay, so if you're a parent out there, or if you're planning to be a parent, there is a different side of things, a different perspective that you get to see. They're trying to answer a question that doesn't have a clean answer. How do I be fair for everyone when everyone played a different role? Huh? Isn't that a critical question? It doesn't just apply to farming, it applies to everyone in his life, right? Like, how do I be fair to everyone when everyone played a different role? Like my kids are completely different. Am I gonna treat them the same? How do I be fair to both of them? And then if I see their potential, shouldn't I be motivating one more than the other? So these are conversations to have. That's why people don't have them. And the farming child sacrificed, and then the non-farming child chose a different path, right? Like, and when it comes to farming, this is a big one because, like, if one of your kids or one of your heirs is working on the farm and is doing all the work, and then the other one took off, chose a different career in art or anything like that, in business or real estate, um, and so he doesn't work on the farm, and you want to be fair, what if he decides he wants to sell and the other one wants to stay, but he can't stay because the other one? So another conversation's right there, right? And then avoidance of mortality. This is the one nobody says out loud. Even myself, I had a little temptation of not saying it, mortality. Um, uh, and like I had an experience when my father. I mentioned it before, but my father died when I was 8, and for myself, uh, a child that didn't really understand what what that means, so to speak, because it's like he's here and then he's gone. There's no like understanding or explanation. Nobody talks about this, right? And that's what everybody should be talking about is when succession planning comes in, it forces you to face, the illness part, because my dad was sick too, and then after that he died, and then I couldn't understand what was going on, right? So, and then there's loss of control, right? Because once that person is gone, their role, their identity, their being, their relationship, and that's what hurts, right? The relationship is gone. So we'll just say, most of the time people say, oh, later, why are you talking about this? Just, that's not appropriate. Oh, let's do it next year when things slow down, right? That's funny. That's like saying never, especially on the farm. As anyone watching this ever seen things slow down? I never did, and they're not. And actually, as you get older, I think they speed up. Um, if you're watching this in the future, let me know, or I'll rewatch this in the future and I'll be like, "You are so right. Nothing slows down." Um, but anyways, yeah. So again, that's why people avoid these conversations, and then complexly overload. There is also a practical layer. This stuff feels complicated, right? And who doesn't, right? Whatever you don't know feels complicated, right? If it is comes to legal stuff, oh, these lawyers go to school for 8 years, so they must have studied something. Oh, we should be scared of this, right? And then tax related, oh my god, it changes every year. I gotta talk to an accountant. I don't know what can I deduct or what can I claim in my tax return, and that's a huge one too. Like, I'm sitting here. I don't know if you can see it. No, I guess you can. But that's good because I'm sitting here in a pile of receipts and try to do all my filing this year early, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. We're in March. And then financial, right? Like, nobody tells you anything about financial education or financial. So that's why I'm here. Try to help people financially. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've learned a few things that I like to teach because that's the best way I'm going to learn it myself. And then, phew, emotional. Like, nobody teaches you how to deal with your life, with your feelings, in any decisions, man. One of the biggest part of real estate is that emotion, the control of that emotion, being the guide through all the emotions. Like, I'm a big fan of Ryan Serent, and he goes deep into it. And then it's funny because he's dealing with like $1 million homes, right? But everyone is the same. It doesn't matter if you're buying $1 million home and if you're buying $100,000 mobile home. The emotions that you go through are exactly the same, and that's a huge thing that people sometimes don't want to can't handle it, so they don't do it. They don't do the talks. They don't do the things, right? Um, okay, so practical ways. We'll get back to this one because now we'll go into the conversations. Okay. Um, so I have my notes here. Let's see. Okay, so on the farm, let's go back to the talks, right? So it's not just the paperwork. Let me see. Just trying to grasp my plans fail before they're written. Most succession plans collapse not from a bad document, but from conversations that never happen, right? So it's so important. It's critical to have these conversations, but it's not just at the farm level a- as well. You know, it's at the family level. It's once you have an asset, even real estate. You know, it's like you need to have these talks, right? Delay is the default, and like what we talked about, most people delay it because the complexity. They want to be fair and everything like that, right? So urgency changes everything. All of a sudden, you're hit with illness, and I've seen it. Testimony. I don't know if you have seen it. Maybe if you're too young, maybe you're not exposed to it, but it's just a rush. You know, like everybody's like, "Oh, I gotta get my will done." I got sick, right? And now sicknesses are actually prolonged, especially with insurance. That's why we sell insurance, is because once you get sick, it's not just like you drop, you have a heart attack, and you're gone, done. No more, no more troubles going to the hospital, appointments, doctors, second opinions, and all that. It's just like you get cancer or you get diagnosed, and then the detection is early. So maybe you're an early stage. Sorry, but then you need to plan and then go to these appointments, and then like you have these tough conversations. Well, tough conversations because you never had them with the doctor, and the doctor is talking about how much time you got to live, and then it's like you sit there and you just dwell in your thoughts, and then what? Guess what? You gotta make decisions about your will and what are you gonna live and your kids, and now you want to talk to your kids, and it's like, oh my god, I don't know if you ever had a near death experience. You have definitely a different look on life, let me tell you. But probably that's for another day. So this is just about business. Farmland carries weight that a balance sheet can't capture, right? It's the identity, it's the work that was put into the barns that were raised, it's the memories, dude. This is huge. Like the memories that were made on that farm. It's how the family was defined, right? And if it's generational, I can't even grasp it. I mean, I grasped it a little bit because obviously 95% of us were farmers back in the day. So my grandfather had a huge family, right? 6 kids, 7 kids, and two of them stayed on the farm. Three of them stayed on the farm, but then one had an accident. So that's why I said two in the beginning. And and then the others went to university because it was the time where people were saying that was the trend. Go get an education, make something of your life. You don't want to be stuck in this farm. And then all of a sudden now we're seeing a little bit of a awakening and be like, okay, no, I like farming. I like being in touch with the earth. I like being working with my hands in the soil and everything and the animals and just being outside, like not staring at a computer, right? So uh, emotions and money collide. Oh, I love that one. Um, it's a dual. It's a duality, right? So you got an identity, you built a legacy, and now you have a livelihood. That's the land, man. It supports you. You got a connection. Did you know? I mentioned it before, but that just popped in my head. And I'm sorry for going in tangents all the time. But did you know that you can't bury people in the farm anymore? Because that creates even more of a bond to that land. And so when it comes to resale purposes, um, the land is so much more important to you and to the heir, and it creates this connection, right? Yeah, back in the days, they used to bury their ancestors on the farm, and that land got passed on and on. It was like a legacy. Ah, so beautiful, so beautiful. But now we just turn it into a business. And what are we actually talking about? Okay, so this is the real estate layer, right? So farmland versus buildings versus operations, right? So this is just more than just the land. It's like how the farm is operating, what legacy you want to build, and what lifestyle this farming is providing you, right? Like there's a lot of people that don't use tools. Mm, maybe those got erased, the small farmers not using tools and technology. Uh, the family home on title. The home is often the most emotionally charged asset and the most overlooked in early planning conversations, right? Who's taking the home? With 7 kids, my grandfather had quite the issues, right? And two of the sisters stayed there, so they managed the farm. But one of them, on their deathbed, she was like, "I got roped into it, because I felt bad," and that's usually what happens is the females that stay because the males take off. They want something different. They see a better future on the other side, but never realize that the grass is not greener on the other side. You gotta make your grass green. So you got farmland, you got buildings, you got equipment, right? The family home, maybe additional well dwellings, and then you got emotions, you got different people, different identities, and so what the main point of this is, if you can't clearly explain what happens to the home and the land, you don't have a succession plan, right? You have a hope that people will listen to you. I'll leave you with that. Like as you're a dad, you hope that your kids will listen to you, but then you also say no. They gotta have their own life, right? And that comes into a different uh, topic, right? So, okay, so let's go into it. That was quite a bit, 37 minutes in, and we didn't even start the conversation. So, yeah, I'm trying to avoid it myself. Um, what does succession mean here? Oh, look at that. We have a family sitting around the table and they're talking. They got funny hats on. I think those are trying to be farmers. Okay, so question number one, keep the land in the family? Are we keeping the farm in the family? Um, how am I gonna find my retirement? I'm gonna keep working. Is it anybody wants to take it on? That's a big question, right? And how do we protect everything? How do we protect the operations? How do we protect the cattle? How do we protect from the weather? Oh my God, have you seen the weather lately? It was warming up 2 weeks ago when I did the show. It was like warm. I was almost in t-shirts. Then it got freezing, and now again came on warm. Right? Not to say that nobody's manipulating the weather out there. Oh no, why would they want to do that? Hmm. Anyways, going back to this slide, balance, fairness versus continuity. Right? You want to balance fairness, or do you want to continue the farm, the operations? These are huge. Think about, like, when you have a home, do you want to sell it? You don't care. You don't want to talk about it. But when you have a farm, there's different attachment to it, right? You have the attachment to the land. Like I said, you put so much work. I mean, for us, when we gave up the farm, we're just like, oh my God, we planted all these trees. We put up the greenhouse. We built all these systems. And now we're just going to go and lift it up. Well, at the time, yes, that was the reason why I detached myself from the system, because what I learned from it, and I said, no, I can't continue. This is not fair. This is not right. Right. And do I have regrets? Yes, of course. I love farming. I love how you feel. I love everything about it. But it's just, it does put food on the table, but it doesn't. It's tough, you know. Uh, so, and okay, let's go back to, so balance, fairness, and continuity, right? Like, what do you want to be more fair, or you want to be continuing the legacy, right? That's a huge question. And then conversation number two, who's the successor, right? Like, are you going to split it up? Uh, are you going to give him a role? Like, you got to weigh out who's the owner, who's going to be the owner, who's going to be the operator, who's the manager, right? Like, I mean, obviously, if you have two kids or maybe three at the most, the least kids you have, the easier the decision. Maybe, possibly, but maybe not. Maybe your only kid doesn't want anything to do with it, right? It's just like, no, I'm taking off. I'm going to the city. I'm going to be an airplane pilot, right? Like, so who are you leaving it to? And then are you going to cut out your kid from the succession, the land? Talks to have, right? With the family. Timeline for transition. What does it look like? When the decision making changes, when are you going to give it up, right? Like, these are some serious conversations to be had, right? And we're not invincible. And also, like, farm is a little bit different because, like, and if Gaurav was here, probably he would tell you that in India, man, farmers work until they're 100 years old because they love it so much, right? They're part of their identity, right? And they have that commitment. They don't have the concept retirement in their heads. And it's all for you to choose, right? And we live in this world, and retirement is on everybody's head. Like, my wife wants to retire in a warm, sunny place with lots of fruits around, and yeah, can have it. Maybe even have a farm down somewhere warm, right? But and start a legacy there. So it might follow us. So when there is a transition, and that's another important role part, is that there is a need to learn, right? Like, it's like every time you transfer a business over too, right? Like, you need to train the person. How long is that going to take? Is it going to be done in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years? Farming is so complex because there's so many variables, like the weather, the soil, uh, the people, the products, the trends, that it's like, how do you teach all of that, right? It takes years, right? But how do you teach the foundation and the basics? Just like financial advising, right? Like, it takes time to really learn the foundation parts. But then once you have that and you have the tools and the skills, then you can start building the house, right? And it doesn't all come all at the same time, right? Um, conversation number three, fair versus equal, right? Like, I mentioned it before, like, this is the part where most Canadians have problems. It's because they want to be fair. They want to be conflict avoidance, right? And fair is context, right? So one child worked the land for 20 years, another built a career elsewhere. Equal doesn't honor that reality. Fair might, right? So that's what we talked about. It's like, who, who is more likely to continue the succession, right? And not having the conversation and just leaving it. And, well, it's obvious. You worked on the farm for 20 years, right? You should have the farm. But is it fair to the other person? I don't think so. I think that talk should have been there. So don't stay silent, right? Equal is math, right? Splitting assets in identical shares feels clean on paper, but it rarely accounts for what actually happened on the farm, right? And we know it. And it's about responsibility, and it's about who did what. And if you want to pass on a legacy, it, it's not just numbers, right? It's about weighing the variables and passing them on, right? And then this is the other hard questions on the side here. Um, how do you treat farming versus non-farming children, right? That's what I said. Maybe some people like in our my grandfather's situation, because my aunts couldn't take care of the farm itself. Like, I mean, they could take care of the house, they could do the cooking and the cleaning, and everything was spotless. But the farming operation, the tractors, the animals tendering, the feeding, and the the killing and the food production and everything like that, they had to hire a manager, right? And it was a hard uh, thing to do. But then it's like, wouldn't you leave a little bit of the farm to the manager and its children, because the farm manager was living on the farm as well, right? And what do you say to the children, right? So it's important to have these conversations, because conversations create create knowledge, and knowledge uh, changes everything, right? Changes the way you perceive and you view points of views, right? So it's important to have these conversations. How do you recognize years of labor, sacrifice, and foregone income? Yeah, uh, that's pretty huge, because when uh, when you put in the time and you're building systems and you are feeding, and farming is like 24/7, right? Like, it's a lot of work. It it comes up every day. Oh, I just watched that. It says episode 24. I just saw it. Oh, I had last week's prompt. Anyways, this is episode 25. You're tuning in. What does fairness look like to each person in the room? Yeah, what does it look like? And then it's like, again, remember when we were talking about the fears of people avoiding the conflict? It's like that's comes to it, like, well, you haven't done anything, so why should I leave you anything, right? Like, well, but it's not fair, like, I deserve a third of this farm, and so on, and that creates problems. And like, having wrong relationships with your brothers and sisters, that creates not a happy life. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter. I don't have bad relationships. I'm just saying that, from what I know from people that don't talk to their siblings or their sisters or brothers, man, they're not happy. And don't be that way too. And don't avoid these conversations, right? Um, what? Question number 4. Okay, so we're speeding through this. What happens to the home and the land? Okay, so this is the one of the big ones, right? Like, what happens to the home? Who takes care of it? Who's gonna do the fixing, and who has enough responsibility to keep it up to date? The yard, the extra dwellings too. Like, sometimes farms have multiple homes on it. Maybe now there's like Airbnb cabins, and operations are getting huge, because the farmers that are making it right now are successful because they have explored many different buckets of income. They just haven't stuck to one crop, unless you're in Alberta and you're stuck into grains or uh, canola or anything like that. But you need a lot of land, right? But if you're here in the Okanagan, let me tell you, fruits or ground crops are not going to pay for the whole operations, right? So you got to come up a little creative, right? Like a little Airbnb cabin, a little picnic, dining under the orchard, or you name it. Some ideas are there, right? Like there's so much you could do to spruce up and generate, like interest for your farm. And so the people that have explored it, like I see a lot of successful people are the ones that have the fruit stands and everything like that. So you can use that as leverage. But I'm digressing here for a second. So who's gonna live in the family home, right? Who's got occupancy rights, right? Like in real estate here in Canada, a lot of people don't know. You can actually give rights of occupancy to certain members of the family. Usually it's the father and the mother. They can live onto the property until they pass on, and the home can be transferred over, and upon those conditions, right? And then what are the timelines, right? Like how long is it gonna stay, and then and what are the expectations? Everything needs to be spelled out. That's huge. Not assumed, right? Like, and we can because when we assume in our own perspective. We don't assume into the one that gives the farm, right? So and clarity only comes through conversation. So, and it's important. The first few questions are going to be hard, but then it's like, okay, we're doing this. You're softening up. It's just like every time I do this show, right? Like it's like at the beginning I'm like nervous. I'm like running around. Oh my god, I'm late. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, no, I'm doing this. Oh, anyways, we're running out of time. Okay, so subdivision potential, right? Some parcels are big enough that you can split them up, right? And so also those conversations can be had. If you can subdivide it and maybe build a home or help raise a barn, that's another one, big one, right? Sell versus hold decisions. Are you going to sell it? Is it meaningful enough that it's going to be sold? And also let the person that is giving the property, no, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell it. Or if you're going to hide it and lie, it's not going to create eh, a good feeling. Let me tell you. Um, Also, this is a big one. Conversation number 5. What if life happens, right? What if illness is is upon us, right? Like the statistics being in insurance are huge, and I'm not the kind of guy that goes fear based. There's ways of being healthy and protecting yourself from illness and death. But and one of them is farming, because connect to the land, connect to the soil. The food that you get from there is way better than the food that you get from the stores. So if you want to protect yourself against illness or death, definitely grow your own food, or at least grow some of it, right? And drink a lot of water. And then there's a contest, right? Like divorce and conflicts. Or sometimes, we go through the swings. Now we're going in a downturn, right? So that is huge right now, right? That talks are not, that's one big one. Nobody talks about that. They're so shy. Oh, it's like admitting that you failed. You're not admitting that you failed. That is not failure. That is just a symptom of what you have to change. You have to change. If you got into that situation, you have to change. It's like getting a little bit of belly fat. It's like if you continue on the way you're doing things, you're gonna get fatter, right? Because that's inevitable, right? Like you're doing this way for a reason, right? So debt is the same. If you are in debt right now, it's not a failure. There is ways to come out of it. You just gotta talk to people. You just gotta gain the knowledge, right? And you gotta go to school or school yourself. And look, there's so many tools like AI, like I just showed you, right? And then one person dependency, right? Operation tend to collapse when there's no systems and when they rely on one person, right? And that's huge. That's why corporations that fail are mainly because they fail because of their main And I've seen it many times in my life, especially in construction. A lot of people tend to not expand their knowledge, and they don't want to retire from their jobs, and they continue doing. And you got people doing their jobs for 45 years. So uh, contingency is not pessimism. That's a big one. Okay, we're coming close. So, how to start these conversations? Well, it's called family meetings, or even start small. Start meeting with your wife, right? Like that prevents a couple of things. Prevents divorce. It explores communications between the two of you, and also where you want to go. Dreams. Talk about dreams. Share them, and see if you can adapt them. Right? Like I want to retire. I don't want to retire. Like I want to start a farm. I want to go back to farming. Right? Like it's just it's so important. Have family meetings. Don't talk over holiday dinners. No, bad context. But just talk about it, after dinner or before dinner, before you make dinner. Define success for each person. Do a talking circle. Love the talking circles. Apply it, one person at a time, or the conch. Remember the book, The Big Head, or whatever that was? Uh, Talk at your turn, create a questionnaire, easy, go on AI, create a questionnaire. We need to talk about this. Okay, identify what's a must have or sacred and what can be sellable, right? Land. And see where the conversation goes. Like, hey, if I'm going to become a one operation man or two operation man, just make sure that you have these conversations, right? And then prepare. Nobody knows it all. So use the tools, use the people that are out there, um, use the lawyers, use the financial planners like ourselves, use the estate advisor. Be in a conversation. I am so open to talk about this. Like all I want to do is help farmers thrive, right? And I'm involved in both industries, so financial planning and estate. That it, I don't know it all either. But what I know is that oh boy, that's me big. Um, so yeah, just have the conversations. Know where you're going, right? Like it's so important. And what I have here in my notes, do I have a couple of minutes? Yeah. So in the family meetings, this is not a fight. It's not a courtroom. The meeting agenda should be like this. What does success look like for mom and dad? What does success look like for the operator, right? What does fairness mean for everyone else? This is huge. What does fair, like go around the table and ask, right? Or, yeah, around the circle. What are the real estate pieces? Sacred versus sellable, right? Like, do you want to sell this? Do you want to keep it? What professional do we meet next? And what do we ask, right? Like what we talked about. So, I hope this episode hit home for you, and you just start thinking about it a little bit more. And this doesn't just come with succession planning, too. It becomes with all the big decisions that come in life as well. One that comes to mind is buying property, right? Like buying land, buying a condo, buying anything. Uh, whenever you increase an asset, have a conversation. If you're doing it together, they're called partners for a reason. When you're in partner in business, in marriage, or anything like that, treat it just like a business, right? You wouldn't go and say, "Oh, you know what? I put an offer on this place. I hope you like that idea." It's like, why did you put an offer on that? Right? Like, I don't want to move there. I don't like that place, or the neighbor sucks. Like you gotta have it. Um, if this conversation hit home, please, I'll put up the recording on Farmers in Finance podcast, and I have a website. It's called farmersinfinance.com. Every episode I load it up there into a blog sort of style, so you can read it, you can listen to it. It's connected with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to it. So if this conversation helped you in whatever ways, or you think of somebody that can help, I'm more than happy to start that conversation as well. Again, like I said before, you can contact me on different channels. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'd love to talk to you. Everything here is free of charge. There's no commitments. You can just talk, right? Like we can talk about finances, we can talk about health, whatever you need, and we can talk about farming, which I love. Um, all I want is for small farmers, big farmers, not to sell their land, continue the legacy. And you can only do this if you do have the proper conversations in place. So, as saying that, I want to thank you everyone for watching this. Now, in the future, again, we were live here. Nothing was coerced or this is all came out of what I have in my experiences. So don't take it as financial advice. Every situation is different. And I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. And then probably next week, I'm going to start talking about taxes because I have a pile of receipts up to here. So, again, thank you for tuning in. This is Farmers in Finance. My name is Rico. I hope to see you next week, same time, same place. And leave a comment. Please like and subscribe as well. Bye bye.